It is the 41st millennium. Across the vastness of space, Abaddon, War Master of Chaos, reveals the ancient battle fleets of ruin. His war is eternity. His hatred for the God Emperor of man is absolute. The arcs of omen press upon the worlds of the Imperial creed, and all across the realms of man, the galaxy burns. As real space is torn asunder, the 14th Dunian Huntress runs silent across the stars. Built when the Emperor walked the earth, the secrets of her arcane technologies are now lost to an age long past. Her inner workings, more magic now than science. Each of her galleys sports a 528,000-pound ordnance shot cannon, manned by a sorted crew of at least 800 souls. Both port and starboard gunnels rack 12 such guns, with 6 dorsal support batteries in forward fire configuration. The breeches are loaded manually, with massive chains and the slavery of bound flesh, hauling each colossal shell into position. She is the peak of human achievement. The Huntress is a Category 6 battleship, one of 12 such ships in the Dunian 14th, with a total cognitive deck crew of over 24,000. She is a veritable city among the stars. Her captain, Lord Commodore and Supreme Grand Master of the Battlefleet, Caligula at arms of the Braille Caliphate of Kar Duniash, and Patriarch of the Hattiscan House Traditions of Porto Franconin, Grand Tide Admiral, Maxim Delus Frey. The stalwart captain has manned the helm of the Huntress for almost 100 years, woven into the spirit of the ship as a babe is entwined with its mother. An entire civilization rests on the steel of this one man, and the drilled ability of his 2,000 crew to carry out his orders to the letter. But today the captain is joined by many more souls besides. A detachment of the 14th trails the Huntress, paired with an unusual sight, the Grand Cruiser Dominionati, an ancient vessel, older even than the Huntress. The Dominionati served on the later battlefronts of the heresy, and for a time was requisitioned for the Macarian Crusade. She is more than 10,000 years old, and for every one of those years, she has endured the fires of open combat. The Dominionati is one of only 2 Category 3 Grand Cruisers in the entire 14th Fleet. Her very presence is an honor. Bound by the penance of the void, the battle group makes for the port of Kar Duniash, the fleet's first docking in over 12 years of constant strife. But there is a catch. The battle fleet must first rendezvous with the remnants of the Seer's Crusade, before scrying the telepathic duct of St. Cronenberg. The Crusaders claim to have lost their navigators crossing the Nihilist threshold, and so require the assistance of the 14th. But Captain Frey knows better. No mortal man could survive that voyage without a navigator. The Crusaders are dead, or surely turn to the worship of ruinous powers. At the head of the Crusader fleet, a massive and bloated vessel, by all appearances a Category 6 battleship, encrusted with flotsam of a kind unusual for this region. A single word echoes in Frey's mind. Herald. This is the demon's name. The Huntress knows it well. As expected, the Crusader fleet maintains a tight defensive formation. They expect to be attacked. The distant rumbling thunder of internal alarms reverberates through Frey's mind. The Huntress speaks to him in her own mystic way. The Crusaders have charged their weapons. But the Huntress is one step ahead. Seizing the initiative, she steadies her course, plying the eastern fringe of the engagement zone with her escort. While the Dominionati flanks the western quarter with a frigate of the line and a system carrier in tow. Dividing the fleet this way will minimize the chances of becoming choked by enemy torpedoes, a common tactic known among Crusader fleets. The grotesque Herald lurches forward with its escort, an oily trail shedding from its carapace as it pushes through the void. As a formidable fleet of destroyers and carriers, if a little disorganized, the Crusaders can afford to meet the Dunian 14th in combat, mirroring the tactics of their quarry. All but one of the Crusader vessels carry an array of colossal void torpedoes, as much for controlling the battlefield as scuttling the enemy. The torpedoes are loosed early, forcing the Dunian contingents apart, and providing cover for the Crusaders from the notorious long-range macro firepower of the 14th. Each Dunian battle group is now divided by the enemy torpedoes. their battle plan locked in place. The outcome of the engagement rests on the tactical acumen of Frey and the Huntress. But the time for planning and forethought is done. The enemy presses its advantage, and the Dunians must respond. The captain is steady, unfazed by the Crusader assault. The Dominion-Arty's task is set. They will avoid the torpedoes, but will be isolated henceforth. Eager to engage, the Dunian frigate Astropolitarny sights the Herald's battle group with its forward dorsal batteries. Overcoming its trigonometry, the Dunian vessel delivers its entire payload right through the void shields of the Herald's escort. The Crusader vessel takes evasive action, leaving the Herald itself exposed to the projectile. But the impact is negligible, merely attracting the ire of the demonic helm. The Herald adjusts its heading, staring down the impudent Astropolitarny, now marked for death. The Crusader torpedoes are set to miss the Dominion-Arty's battle group, but their task is already complete. The Crusader frigates have locked onto their targets, bearing away and bringing up their broadsides to meet the Dunian guns. The Herald brings her portside gunwales to bear, ready to broadside the Huntress. Fearful of return fire from the Dunian sight lines, the entire Crusader fleet lets loose its combined fighter escorts. A dozen single-man spacecraft to a team, the Crusaders know this may be their last chance to deploy in such numbers. Captain Frey can see the Crusaders are nervous. Their vessels have come about, and are set to regroup in the center of the field. The Astropolitarny takes point. Having drawn the Herald's attention, this single vessel will now disrupt the sight lines of the Crusader battleship and carrier, allowing the Dunian Huntress free fire at the Crusaders from range. Captain Frey need merely keep his heading. Likewise, the Dominion-Arty's task remains set. They have the Crusaders surrounded. With fire support from her escort, the Huntress opens with a full broadside, a magnitude of 6, plus 1 from the escort, for a total of magnitude 7 firepower at the distant Crusader destroyer beyond the Astropolitarny. Three successful impacts obliterate the target, clearing the way for the Astropolitarny with a magnitude of 2. With the Crusaders in close formation, a support carrier is destroyed with a single impact, its fighter escort now stranded, and a second destroyer forced to take evasive action. This is the Astropolitarny's last hurrah. Its gun crews will ensure the Crusaders hear them across the void. In the western quarter, the Dominion-Arty's battle groups seek to target the Herald, but their sight lines are blocked by waves of intervening torpedoes. Selective fire fails to clear the field, and so the Dunian fleet's fighter escorts are released, providing intercept support should the Herald discharge its torpedo payload. The Dunians mean to surround the Crusaders, but the Astropolitarny is now within striking distance of the Crusaders' fighter escort. The remaining carrier's fighters strike at the Astropolitarny, while the carrier itself crosses the Herald to provide cover as the battleship charges its broadsides. The Crusaders are disorganized, their sluggish battleship caught in the teeth of the Dunian pincer. A destroyer supports the fighter assault, covering the battleship and hoping to engage the Huntress once the path is clear. The final destroyer forms up with the remaining fighter wings, maintaining a bulwark against the Dominion-Arty's flanking maneuver by deploying torpedoes. The Dunian battle group will need to evade, bearing up for the center of the Crusader fleet, and within striking distance of the remaining Crusader fighter wings. The last of the Crusaders' initial torpedo salvos exit the field. The way is clear now, but the Dominion-Arty has missed her chance to engage with her broadsides. The Crusader fighters penetrate the voids of the Astropolitarny and strafe her gun decks with tactical missiles. Just a single warhead breaches the proud vessel's magazine, and the Astropolitarny is destroyed. The Crusader fighters return to their carrier, clearing all sight lines to the Huntress. The Crusader destroyer opens its broadsides at magnitude 2, with maximum firing detail on the Huntress formation. The Dunian escorts are struck, But at this close proximity to the Huntress, they share their mothership's voids and survive the impacts with evasive maneuvers. The Huntress herself receives the impacts across her hull, but careful maneuvering by Captain Frey rolls the ship and maintains her course. The Crusaders' first major volley has struck at the core of the Dunian fleet, but tactical placement of the Dunian vessels has minimized the impact. As the battle sets in, the Dunian flank must come to bear. The Dunian fighter escort advances, pressuring the Crusaders, while the battle group wrench hard to starboard, evading the Crusader torpedoes. The Dominion-arty maintains its position in the group, but its Nova cannon is yet to acquire any target. This course will wreak havoc among the Crusaders, but the Herald itself looms large, and will destroy any ship foolish enough to close the distance. The Huntress and her escort stabilize, and prepare their galleys for a second broadside. Magnitude 7 with 5 impacts destroys the Crusader carrier, just as its fighter wings are being refueled. The Crusader fleet is being taken apart. For a brief moment, the gunnery crews peer out at the pestilential visage of the Herald, but their guns are already spent. The Dunians are landing their fire, while the Crusaders are mistiming their shots. The initial Crusader torpedoes leave the field, while the last remaining fighters and the reserve destroyer move to broadside the Dominion-arty's column at point-blank range. A second destroyer triangulates on the same formation, while the Herald prepares for a potential boarding action. The fighters strike at the Dunian formation. At close proximity, they are in their element, but strong defensive fire and evasive maneuvers save the Dunian vessels from piecemeal destruction. Supporting fire from the destroyer is disrupted by the melee, with barely an impact causing any damage. The Dunians break to starboard, blunting the column, but bringing both vessels about unharmed. The triangulating destroyer finds its sight lines blocked by the Dunian fighter escort, and blasts away at the tiny craft until nothing but debris remains. In their place, the reserve destroyer deploys its torpedoes, seeing an opportunity to intercept the evading Dunian frigate. The Crusader fighters scatter, depleted and abandoned. For Captain Frey, this is the signal. The Crusaders are surrounded, and but one ship lingers between his formation and the Dominion-arty. At long range, he can end this engagement and take the Herald a prize. The Dominion-arty's battle group bring their broadsides upon the Herald. Plowing effortlessly through the destroyer's torpedoes as though there were no obstacle there at all. The battle group opens fire in sequence, but the Herald is tough beyond compare. Fused with some kind of demonic strength, the battleship merely corrects its heading, staring down those Dunian vessels who might dare to affront its name. While the battle group engages the Crusader flagship, the carrier deploys its reserve fighters to engage the destroyer. Each wing releases its payload, and the destroyer's bridge is smashed to oblivion. The hulk spirals away. Its crew, destined for the dark eternity of the void. The Dominion-arty's battle group have smashed the Crusaders' flank. Their mission is successful, and with the reserve destroyer annihilated, the entire battle group need only await the call of the Huntress. From the eastern quarter, Captain Frey charges his portside batteries one last time. A full broadside, with fire support for a magnitude of 7. 3 impacts rake the voids of the destroyer. one penetrates, and the last of the Herald's Crusaders is destroyed. The magazine detonates, and every hand aboard is instantly incinerated. The God Emperor of mankind has spoken. His verdict is death. Whatever these unbelievers came upon in their warp-bound travels may have turned their hearts from grace, but the Emperor is benevolent and merciful. A swift death in purifying flame is punishment enough. The field is taken. The Crusaders annihilated. The Herald, set to board the Dunian vessels beyond its prow, now finds itself totally surrounded. Its gambit is lost. What secrets might lie in wait aboard this prize should the Dunians board her? What happened to the Crusaders who once served the Emperor aboard this ship? The Herald is placed into cordon, nowhere to run nor hide, while the Dunians fire up their Auspex scanners. Captain Frey keeps the Huntress well away from the tainted vessel, but his caution in no way lessens his pride. This day's action was a masterclass in void-born tactical warfare. The loss of the Aster Politarni and all her 8,000 souls is regrettable, but victory on the field of battle is always hard-fought and hard-won. The Aster Politarni let the enemy know the meaning of her name. With the Herald locked down, Captain Frey and the Dunian 14th Fleet return to their true task. The port of Kar Duniash awaits. If you like these narrative battle reports, why not subscribe for more? And if you want to be involved, support the Patreon for community perks and additional content. You can even download and print the miniatures yourself. Links in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.